This is the leading edge Model D, an IBM XT clone from the mid-80s. I got it on an estate sale, paid 20 bucks for the entire computer desk. That included the computer itself, the software, and the printers, and anything else I wanted to root through for in the desk. I went and got an X-Tide and tried to get that thing to work with it, so we're going to talk a little bit about the troubles I had to get that to work, but I did eventually get it. On top of that, the guy was so thorough, he kept a nil envelope of everything to do with the computer. I'm talking advertisements, pictures of when he set it up on his desk, software notes, everything's in here. He sent it in for warranty a few times. Every note on chips that they flipped out's in here. So we're gonna go through that as well. First, we're gonna use this to kind of sleuth through the history of this computer and the history of the Model D as a whole. And then we're gonna get into getting some games to work maybe, and definitely get these printers to print something out. Anyways, let's do it. Leading edge Model D, released in July of 1985. Initially priced at a price point of $1,495. Dual floppies on the front, 256K RAM. There's a color variety. You decided which monitor you were plugged into by flipping a switch and plugging into the corresponding port. Parallel and serial ports let you plug in all peripherals you would ever need. Printers, whatever. That's at least what we're going to be using it for, is the printer right here. We don't really have anything in the expansion bay of this guy, just the memory card that we're going to be using to run DOS off our X-Tide. The monitor is pretty cool. This guy opted for the color monitor. It is a DRC1311, has a vertical height adjust on the back. On the front, you have your contrast and your brightness, and your on-off switch. That's it, not much more to it. Our keyboard is probably the coolest part of this machine, with the leading edge badge and the Blue Alp keycaps. It is a very clicky keyboard and it's very satisfying to use. It is a DC2014 with cool legs that flip out, have cool designs on the end to help you run your finger down and prop up the legs properly. Let's have a listen to what the keyboard sounds like. Here's the front of our computer. Have an on-off switch, reset button, and our two floppy drives. Each one currently has a Lotus 123 floppy card in it, which will run that software later. This is our beautiful Axiom Elite 5 daisy wheel printer with a lightning fast 10 characters per minute. Tractor fed for all of his basic document needs. But if you needed something a little bit more advanced, here's the absolutely massive 3-in-1 P341SL Toshiba dot matrix printer. And he also opted for the parallel data selector, so he could go between them without having to unplug each one individually and plug the other one in. Here's the computer running some Tetris as a little sneak peek of the software we're going to get to run when we have the X-Tide working. But first, let's go through all this cool documentation we got with this computer. Every little brochure and advertisement he picked up, newspaper clippings he clipped out while trying to select the computer he needed for his needs. And when he finally did get the computer home, he took some pictures and showed the setup. Labeled Setup 1988. He even took some internal photos. I guess at one time he upgraded the RAM, which we'll see some receipt paper for here after a while. And he kind of documented that journey of him taking the computer apart, putting the extra RAM in the extra slots. Here's some brochures showing you the different options within the Model D family. Different amounts of RAM, color monitor versus monochrome monitor, the memory expansions, resolutions. Looks like they had some errors in this document and he corrected them. He also highlighted things he wanted or things he liked about each machine. And here is the thing that the Model D was trying so hard to compete with, the personal IBM computer. This shows that not only did the Model D have a full clock and calendar with a battery, but it also was about $1,500 less than the IBM personal computer. Here's like a poster-like ad. I don't know if that's what it came with the computer or was just available in the store when he went to look at it. tells about the service and support you can expect when purchasing a Model D. And then some other little brochures. Talks about how to contact phone support, online support. How long's your warranty? Is this a full compatible IBM machine? Yes, it is. That's what everyone wanted. CGA and all. Then this little guide came with it. I guess this is how much you would need to pay to get a modem. But before he decided on the Model D, he had some things he cut out of newspapers and from magazines, again highlighting the things he liked about it. And then finally, a clipping that shows the place he ended up buying the machine, in Atlanta, Georgia. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, the purchase has been made. Here's the receipt. He purchased the Model D for $1,645, a Cheer for free, some box diskettes for free, and a Twin for free, and then a surge protector for $20, for a total with tax of $1,731.60. So he gets the thing home. He decides, okay, I'm going to get these things working with my printers. And then he writes them a letter saying, hey, I have this Toshiba P41SL parallel mode only and a Axiom Elite 5. What do I need to get these two things working? Is there drivers that exist so that I can connect my Model D to these fantastic printers? Well, he did receive an answer from the company with their leading edge letterhead and everything saying, hey, sorry, but we currently don't have drivers for these specific printers. You can maybe use a generic driver or send us a envelope with a couple bucks in it and we'll send you a floppy we'll think that will work. And he even kept the envelope it came in, and even the envelope had a branded label on it. Looks like at the time he was also thinking about expanding his computer by getting up to 2 megabytes of RAM with an expansion card, but I don't know if he ever did this or if he just got rid of it, because it wasn't in the computer and this is the only documentation that he ever thought about it. Now, he does show that the software that he has, the 123XL, would greatly benefit from this additional RAM. Here is when he decides, maybe I just buy extra RAM chips and install them myself. $130 for 9 chips. Each bank on this computer is 9 chips, so that's why he gets 9 of them. Pays it in 1986, and out the door. Now the computer's got new RAM. He did send it in for a service once. Apparently, after 15 minutes, the monitor kept going out. He replaced a Q301, and it took him 1.5 hours, I guess, and charged him $15 to ship it back. Must have been under warranty because there was no other cost associated with that. Here's some documentation of when he was thinking about which printers he should get. He saw the Axiom for $149.95 in his local newspaper or magazine, whatever this was ripped out of. And he decided, yeah, that's the one I need. Here's a color ad from another magazine showing that it can connect to a modem and allow you to print from any other computer onto this machine, like a fax machine. Here is the receipt for when he bought the Axiom. $189.95 after tax. Here's some notes, documentation from the Axiom printer, telling you how you connect everything up, how the tractor-fed paper should work, and then of course here's the manual itself, just outlining how to use the thing. He, for some reason, had 2 copies of the manual. Don't really know how that happened, but anyways, here's the Toshiba's manual. Like everything else in this lot, he highlights everything that he either thinks is important or that he likes about it. Here's an example of the graphics it can print out. This is printed on the computer, I assume, or a computer in the store when he went to look at it. Here was the price tag on this dot matrix printer, $600 for this guy. And then he bought the switch box because, hey, I got 2 printers now. I don't want to be unplugging and plugging them back in all the time, man. Let me get the switch box. I don't know if the, salesman probably talked him into it or whatever. Again, here's the actual full service manual for this Toshiba dot matrix printer. And what do we got? We got highlighting all throughout the thing. And then here's the software we're going to use right off the bat, our Lotus 123 software, which is like an Excel, I guess, grandfather. It allows you to do sheets, huge sheets. I think you can do like 1024 by 1024 lines in this guy. This shows that, yeah, this is for the Model D. This is the printer I'm using. The documentation for this thing is huge. It is a really thick boy. You got a lot of reading to do to fully understand this software. And it's really something we just don't get anymore. I kind of like the fact that my software or my thing I bought came with a big manual that I can read and understand. Here are all the floppy disks it came with. We have our utilities, our backups, a specific disk only for printing the graphs, and a specific disk for doing our setup. And then, thank God he didn't put these on because they're, I don't know, kind of hideous, but you also got these little stick-on stickers for your keyboard so that you can remember, yes, in my Axiom 123, or I'm sorry, in my Lotus 123 software, this is how I connect it. And then since he had both these printers, I need something to put them on. So he went ahead and bought himself a printer stand. This was still at the house when I left. I just had no interest in having it. I would have had to take the whole thing apart to get it in my car. I didn't want it, but it's cool that he took pictures of it and everything. Okay, enough talking about the cool stuff we got. Let's get into actually using this printer. So we got to get this tractor fed installed correctly. So we're going to get our holes lined up here, and we're going to first rip off this half sheet that's on the top because that's no good. And we're going to feed the first 3 holes into the hole, or the little pins sticking out, and then we're going to close these little plastic doors on top. Then we can flip the thing back over, and it is all good to go. So with power and plugged in the computer, we see that it's ready waiting. Our buttons allow us to eject a page if we want. These change values, I guess, as if you were using the menu. There must be some sort of menu on the printer. I never really got into using that, but he taped a little piece of paper telling him how to remember how to use the thing. Okay, let's check it out. Lotus 123. Now, I don't have any spreadsheets made myself, right? But this view of Lotus 123 will allow me, I'm assuming, has some generic spreadsheets on it uses to teach you how to use the software. So what I can do is I can firstly launch the regular version and then pull the test ones off of the example floppy. But here I'm going to launch the example and just show you kind of what that looks like. A view of Lotus 123 allows you to see an introduction, a sample session, or look at new features included with this version of the software. You can look at how you make graphs, and each segment is partitioned by a different file. As you see it there at the top, it's accessing drive A file part B. So each one is its own just basic Excel document that has been written from the factory that runs all these programs and lets you walk through some examples so you know how to use the software, write your equations, put values into boxes, etc., etc. So in the B drive of our B floppy drive here, I have just the run floppy for the software. So what I'm going to do is run the software, the full version, and then we're going to access the A drive, which is where our example floppy is installed. And we should be able to pull the files off and use them as Excel sheets that we can then print and do other things with later on. This will make it so we don't have to make our own giant Excel sheets and sit here and type in random values all day. We can actually have files already made for us. So we hit the / to get this to pop up at the top, and then we can go to File, Retrieve, and we change this accessing the B drive to the A drive, and then it will show us all worksheets on that drive. And there we go. There we have part A, B, C. These are all the different parts of the test or of the tutorial software. So let's load one here. So this is one of the ones from the example. It looks like it's comparing gallons of ice cream sold and the temperature outside. Very basic thing that, every classroom has used, every math class has used this type of graph. And let's do / print and print a range here. This should automatically go to our printer that is currently connected, which is the Toshiba, and we should see if we can get this thing to print. So, all right, I messed it up there. Print, range. We have to set that range, so it's A1 and then 2 dots is what gives you the ending, so D20. That sounds good. And then hit go to print, and we'll see if this works. So there you go, we've printed our first thing with the Toshiba. And here's another one. Let's print one a little bit more complicated. This is the Realtor example on the example software. Alright, we've shown that we can print with our Toshiba. Let's see how we can go about graphing. There is this print graph floppy disk that came with the Lotus 123 set, and I believe this will allow us to print a graph using our dot matrix printer. First we need to get to the A drive here. Let's see what the program is on this that allows us to use that. So it looks like it's pgraph.exe. So let's run that. I don't really know that I have a image or a graph already. I don't think I saw any special files on the example software that would be a graph. I think what the example software does is it actively makes one based off the data, so I don't really know how that works in the end. See, no graphic files found on this disk, which is our graph disk folder, or our graph disk floppy. So let's go to that temperature and ice cream again, and let's see if we can graph it. So it looks like it automatically picks our X and Y axis for us. It knows what we're trying to do there. I don't know if it's smart or always picks the two where the numbers stop and end in the first two lines. Let's name that test and save it so that we now have that file written on this floppy. And again, this is on the our regular 123 floppy. So I guess there's extra room on it that you can just write files to, because this floppy has the program for the generic 123 Lotus on it, but now it also has our graph. So let's go back and put the print graph disk into slot B, and then on slot A, the print graph disk is now in slot A, and let's access that. Okay, so we can launch printgraph.exe again, and then we can access the B drive or tell the software, hey, our graph file is on the B drive. Maybe you should look there, access it, and maybe we can get this thing to print. Okay, so we've loaded it up here. Image select, nothing found on this disk. Okay, right. So we're going to take the print graph disk out because I don't know how I can just tell the print graph disk or tell this software, look on the other drive. So instead, now that this program is loaded into internal memory, we will put the floppy in that has our test, and there we go. It's loaded that. It sees that it exists. No print active. Okay, let's see if we can add a printer to this. I have already gone through, because when I started this, I plugged in a utility drive and it asked me what printers I had, and I told it I had two printers. One was a dot matrix and one was just a basic text printer, daisy wheel printer, and then it saved those settings. This was when I initially got this computer to turn on and not during this recording session. But so now we should be able to go to printer, and okay, there's the Toshiba P1350 series. I don't know if that's exactly what our series is for our printer, but anyways, this should work. I think we need to go back again, and let's hit go. Okay, it doesn't see the fonts now. Why is that? Well, I assume that's because the fonts exist on the print graph floppy. So we got to plug the utility disk or the print graph floppy in now. Let's try utility first and see if that has our fonts on it. I really don't know which one of these has the fonts on it. Okay, it's not this one. Nope, it's not the utility disk. Okay, I'm going to assume it's the print graph. Okay, a new one. Test pick. Yeah, okay. So this is our test file we made. It can't find that now. Why can't it find that? Because we saved it on the regular run disk. So we put that in now, and we hit print. And now it should have everything it needs. Fonts and the test graph itself. And let's see how this goes. Looks like it's starting to print. Now, I am going to not talk for a second and let you hear how ungodly slow this thing is at printing this graph. Okay, that was a single line that it just printed. I don't know if this is because I've been taking the floppies in and out that makes it this slow or what, but there was another line. So yeah, I'm going to speed up this video now, and we'll get to the end of this. I'll tell you now, the entire print takes about 20 minutes. So I'm not sure if this is always the case. I can't believe that this would be the case all the time. I don't know if it's because I'm storing certain things in RAM and taking the floppies in and out that's making it this slow, but it's very slow. Alright, so there's our finished product. We had an issue with a carriage return error on the printer, and when I fixed it, it put all those @ symbols in the middle. I didn't really like that, so instead I printed it again. No errors this time, and this is what the scatter plot looked like fully printed out. Okay, that's our Toshiba. Let's switch over to our Axiom 5, and let's see this daisy wheel give this graph a print. All right, so there's our daisy wheel printer. A heck of a lot slower than our dot matrix, but a lot more satisfying clicks when it's printing. Let's switch over to our Xtide here. Here's the SD card. The file system on this is going to look exactly how you would expect. The only thing I added personally was a games folder with some random DOS games in it. I thought maybe I could get SimCity to work, but that is an EGA graphics game. It is not going to boot on this machine. CGA only on this machine. So I had an issue when trying to get this to work. I'm going to explain how I got the Xtide to work on this Model D while I mess with some games in the background here. So the Model D has a real-time clock. We saw that in one of the documents from earlier that was explaining the benefits from a IBM computer to this Korean-made leading-edge Model D. One of those benefits, other than the price point, was the fact that it had a real-time clock and calendar with a battery, so that when the computer was off, you would not lose the system time. You would not have to reset the system time every time the computer was turned off and on, which was true for all the other IBM computers at the time. So, because this real-time clock has to exist, it has to exist somewhere in memory, right? So the Xtide tries to initialize itself at address 300. Unfortunately for us, address 300 is also where the real-time clock tries to initialize itself. So when you attempted to use the XT IDE with the real-time clock enabled, you got the following error. So at first I didn't know this is why what's causing this. And then once I figured it out, I also didn't know how I could fix it. Well, come to find out, replacing a jumper or removing a jumper on the motherboard disables the real-time clock. Disabling this real-time clock makes it so the computer does not try to load that address with anything related to the real-time clock, and that address 300 is now completely open for the XT IDE to use. Now you're probably asking, okay, well, why didn't you just change what address the XT IDE was trying to use? Well, that is programmed in the EEPROM. And I don't know about you, but I currently don't have an EEPROM programmer. Now I have one hopefully coming soon, and I'm so excited to get to figure out how to use the thing. I've never programmed an EEPROM a day in my life, but it seems pretty cool. Anyways, I don't have one sitting around, and I wasn't about to just go edit to the Xtide ROM code and get it working again with a new software, with a different address location. So this was the easiest way to do it. Just be okay with the fact that I don't have the real-time clock anymore. And you'll see that every time I boot the computer because it's going to ask me to set the time and date every time. And I removed the battery for the for the real-time clock anyways, because those batteries are known to explode and destroy the motherboard, and thank God it hadn't done that yet when I got my hands on this thing. So why would we risk a new battery in the machine? Just take the battery out and not have a real-time clock anymore. Oh well. And that fixed it. That completely fixed it. No issues anymore. It runs everything just fine. It's just gonna bug you every time you boot it and say, hey, what's the date and what's the time? I don't know anymore because I turned off. And that's how every other ID or every other IBM computer worked at the time. So no issues with me there. At this point, we've arrived at my favorite game, Space Invaders, but a DOS clone of it. And here we can see our beautiful color palette that we get with our CGA graphics on this machine. Now, this machine did support 16 different colors at a 640 by 200 resolution. I don't have really any games that attempt to do that, but maybe later on we can check out some Checkit software and we can see if this machine is fully CGA compatible. And from what I understand, it 100% is. So let's finish up playing some Space Invaders here and get on to doing some checks. Okay, so now let's run Jim Leonard CGA compatibility software here, and let's see if we do have indeed a fully CGA compatible machine. Of course, every time we attempt to access the full compact flash card we have, it takes absolutely forever for it to give us a total bytes free because we have over 200 million of them, and it never thought it would read that many. Anyways, here we go. So CGA compatibility, let's run the horizontal retrace here. And here we go with our raster bars. And with the leading edge monitor, these raster bars are insanely smooth. At least I think. Let me know what you think. I think those are probably the smoothest ones I've seen run this software. And of course, we have row reprogramming, and you can see that here. That gives us the mimic of super high resolution, and none of that would have worked if we were not a fully compatible CGA machine. So this proves that we have full CGA compatibility. Okay. Now, let's run the Checkit software. We can go to the configuration screen and see our 640K of base memory, our 8088 processor type. Our math code processor is an 8087. As we know, we have a CGA graphics. Now, let's go ahead and test printer pages on each printer. And this really will be our speed comparison between our two printers. I hope that gave you, especially for people like me who were not old enough to experience this when it actually happened, I hope that gave you an understanding on how big of a technological advancement it was for a dot matrix printer. With a daisy wheel, it took a pretty long time to print out these documents, and it was a lot louder as well. Anyways, let's go ahead here and run some benchmarks so we can see our speed of our CPU and video and our math speed. Looks like we're sitting between 0.3 and 0.4K on our CPU, between 0.4 and 0.5 on our video, and our math processor is kicking it out of the park. Okay, well that's really it for our computer software. Let's go through some other random accessories I pulled out of that desk when I got this computer. This cool floppy cleaner. It's got some tape so you can put onto your floppy drive, rename what you put onto it. If you've written to it so many times, you've filled up the original one. This cool head cleaning diskette, I guess you spray it with these different cleaners and then run it in the drive, and it's supposed to clean your reader head in your floppy drive. I thought this was cool. The plastic case and having the original box is just the best touch. Here is a copy of DOS 3.2 still sealed in the original box, which really made me not want to open it and really pushed me to get the X-Tide to get DOS to work. $95 he paid for this. No idea when he bought it. I didn't have a receipt for that software, but cool that it's still sealed. Here are some of the cartridges to replace in the I assume that's the Daisy wheel, and I think these ones in the box are for the Toshiba. There you go. Some history about it, playing some games on it, getting the printers to work. What else can you ask for? The amount of documentation I had to just walk through its entire life, I mean, I was blown away at that. I really wish I could have met the guy and talked to him more about this thing, but I wasn't sure if he moved or passed away or what have you. This thing is pretty cool. I've never seen something in such a complete, unyellowed fashion as this. It was pretty cool to get my hands on. And I had a great time making it work again. If you want to watch that video of me replacing some RAM and getting the board to actually boot for the first time, the link will be in the description. And it will probably be popping up somewhere here if I can figure that out. I'm new to all of this anyways. So thanks for watching, and be tuned for some new stuff here soon. I got some old NCR terminals from like the early 60s, maybe late 60s. Really old stuff. No brain in it, just terminals. So we're going to see if we can get that thing to boot. We're going to see if we can get something to display on the screen maybe. I don't know. The thing's really rough, so let's just start with trying to get the thing to turn on. Anyways, if you enjoyed this, please like, comment, all that great stuff. Subscribe, you know. So, and hopefully I'll get time to post some more in the future. Thanks.